All right. This says I'm live, so I'll believe that. Hello, everybody. I'm doing this all wrong. It's Friday night, late. Um, no one will ever see this, like I've ever cared. Who gets to see these things? So, I'm going to take a little different approach today. Um, I took an easy day today. I've been working too hard, so I was laying around and I was listening to a YouTube podcast video type thing in theoretical physics, and which is a topic I like to listen to once in a while. Takes my mind off of things. So the host had this woman on, and she was really engaging. I really enjoyed listening to her. She was very smart and funny, and she laughed a lot, and she laughed at her own work, and it was very charming and disarming, and I really enjoyed it. Um, and she was doing something that's a bit unusual in the sciences. She was really openly talking about and kind of celebrating, like, this is neat. Look at this neat part of this. And the neat thing for her was that we could be wrong. There's so much we don't know, and the more we study, the more we realize we may be completely wrong on a bunch of things, but that's not a problem. That's science. That's why we do this. Newtonian mechanics was good enough, but it was replaced by relativity, and then quantum mechanics came along, and we can't reconcile even the least amount of both relativity and quantum mechanics, both of which are massively successful theories of the universe, and we can't reconcile them. The equations are completely different. Quantum mechanics has static time, and in relativity, time is relative, hence the term. So and she went on and on and on. It was very fun to listen to, and sort of airing the dirty laundry of theoretical and particle physics, which is always fun when someone's willing to do that. And then she said something that really caught my attention and really resonated with the place that I'm in personally these days. And what she said was, she was talking about all these things. She says, but it really doesn't matter. I mean, it's a journey. I mean, we don't need to be right. We're not arriving somewhere. We're not arriving at rightness. We're on a journey. And sometimes we'll discover things that are obviously correct, and then they stay correct. And sometimes we'll find things that are correct for the time being, and later on we amend them or extend them or drop them entirely. And that's science. That's the whole scientific method. That's why we do this. And the people who do science are really comfortable being on our journey. And when she said that, like I said, that resonated with me because, um, as I've said a few times on this channel, without a lot of explanation. So here I am trying to make right on that. I don't really pay much attention anymore to climate science. It's still interesting when there's breakthroughs or observations or new papers that are, challenging the paradigm or changing the paradigm. I pay attention to those, um, but I've kind of arrived. I've arrived at a different space than most people have arrived at. Now, I do sometimes run into, not physically, of course, this is all online and in papers and whatnot. I sometimes run into people in the field who have also, I think, that I can kind of tell from context that they've arrived at the same place I've arrived at. And our journey has been interrupted. And that could be a personal observation. That could be something that you might notice my wife just got home, something you might notice in your life that you have arrived, or your journey has been interrupted with not quite the same thing. And and when and when you realize that you're no longer going where you thought you were going, then that can cause you to sit back and reassess. So what's been happening with how was your walk?
Good.
All right. Did you run into Tammy?
Run into who?
Tammy.
No.
Oh,
Tammy,
she
no.
said to say hi.
Okay, good.
She was worried about you.
Oh.
She hasn't seen you. Because she hasn't really come by the house either.
Yeah, I saw her a little bit ago, but that's okay. She
Maybe
said,
maybe she forgot.
right. Oh,
Yeah, Tammy's one of the neighbors. She's pretty sweet. Anyway, so I'm still interested in the papers. I'm still interested in the science. I don't really watch presenters talking about this stuff anymore. I never really needed too much of that input anyway. It's all sort of leveled to, you know, a non-science, what they call a lay audience. So I'm operating at a different level. So I don't pay a whole lot of attention to that stuff. And frankly, when they start trying to, I don't like saying dumb things down, but you kind of know what I mean, right? This is highly technical stuff. It's very difficult. You really need many graduate degrees, frankly, of experience to really comprehend this entire kerfuffle about climate. So when they try to, bring it to a level that really works for most common people to try and educate them and bring them, up to speed, it just so much gets lost in the translation that for me, there's no content anymore. It's a lot of hand waving and a lot of suppose this and a lot of fancy footwork. And it's like, whatever, you know, show me the data. And so, but my journey has into this whole area has been interrupted. There is, as far as I'm concerned, having seen the data and seen the papers and listened to the presenters and seeing what's actually happening in the environment, which you can do just watching the headlines, right? You don't even have to read the articles, just pay attention to what's happening in the world. Our journey has been interrupted. Wherever we thought we were going, we're not going there. Within the Judeo-Christian context of culture, there is this idea of progress that you live your life, you follow the rules, you do all these things, and even if your rewards in this life aren't very good, you'll be rewarded in the future. In the afterlife is the general rule, and that's pretty convenient because, of course, no one goes to the afterlife ever comes back to say if the rewards were there or if they were worth it, right? So that's a pretty good deal for somebody to promise you success in the afterlife. So the Judeo-Christian model is nevertheless about constant progress. And whereas us as individuals may be going to heaven or something like that, our culture is also going someplace. We're on a journey. And the nature of that journey kind of depends on who you talk to. But it always has this sort of messianic, we will all be rewarded, heaven, abundance, peace in our time sort of thing. So, that's what I was raised with. Progress, right? Progress is continuous. You must work for progress at all times. And I was raised in that. And I don't think we're going there at this point. And not everybody, I don't think we can, is the thing. It's not really my personal opinion that that journey was never worth taking, or progress. Who even knows what that means, right? Everybody has a different idea of progress. I'm not progressing. I didn't get I'm not a millionaire. I'm not a billionaire. So you and your progress, right? It's not quite like that. At this point, modernity, the modern world, has no future. So if we as a people, and at this point it's most of the people in the world, because Western culture and the sense of progress, of inevitable progress, has now spread to the world. Even the communist Chinese are capitalists, okay? And so now everybody's on this journey, and they're all kind of hoping that it works, because some of them gave up perfectly good cultural journeys of their own. The people of India have a thousands-year-old culture. The people of China have a thousands-year-old culture. The peoples of Africa, tens of thousands of years old culture. And they kind of gave those up, let's just face it, for Western culture, the Western culture of progress. And we're not going there. We're not going there. We can't go there. There is no there. This journey of progress, however you define it, any definition that comes out of Western philosophy, any definition of progress and a journey into a progressive future is done. We're not going there. This happens sometimes. Looking back at history, you could probably even make a case that all journeys are eventually interrupted. None of these narratives about what we are, what we're going to become, and our inevitable triumph or our inevitable hegemony, none of these things ever played out, ever. Even the great empires like the Roman Empire, right? Fairly recent, really long, left a big, huge historical record, monuments and roads and everything else, right? And we still talk about the Roman Empire. What was that? 1,000 years about that? Let's just call it 1,000 years. That was a long time, right? They had a great run. And yet they're gone. They've been gone for 1,500 years. Their journey was interrupted. Now you may argue, well, the Italians took on the journey. No, they didn't. Benito Mussolini actually tried that. He tried to make Italy like Rome, and it was Mussolini who reintroduced the Roman salute, which we also call the fascist salute. But that was a Roman salute. That's how they did it, and he was reintroducing Roman imperialism into Italy and into Europe as a consequence. And he wanted to conquer, just like the Romans did. He wanted to conquer, the Near East and North Africa and the Mediterranean coastline. And he wanted to, do all these things, and maybe even conquer Spain and conquer France. And he had all these plans that he was going to reinstitute the Roman Empire. He failed to do so. Hitler had his Third Reich. Didn't go anywhere. It didn't go anywhere. Bug. These are all, when the Roman Empire, when their journey was done, it was done. And the contingent facts of history that gave the Romans their 1,000-year run cannot be repeated. That was done. That journey is over. And whenever they bequeath to us as cultural torchbearers, we're taking some of that forward. But this journey, and you can even go back to the Egyptians, the journey we are on right now, that maybe began with the Egyptians and the Mesopotamians and the Bronze Age and then the Iron Age, and that journey that has for 10,000 years moved with fits and starts, right? Someone carried the torch and then they were done, and then someone else picked it up and then they were done, and someone else picked it up. That journey of journeys is done. I'll go back to my favorite metaphor. You bought a ticket to go to New York on the Titanic. You bought a ticket to go to New York. Your journey is to go to New York. Now, you don't really know what you're going to do when you get there. Your journey to New York, and this is critical. Try to keep up here. Your journey to New York is pretty vague. You're going to get on the ship. There's the ship. You're going to have a room somewhere. The ship is going to cross the ocean on some path. You're going to get to New York. You're going to get off at the dock. You're going to meet your cousin at some point, a person you haven't seen. You only know them by their name. And then maybe you'll go to their house, and maybe you'll settle down, and maybe you'll go to live in New Jersey. You don't really know what you're going to do once you get to New York. Maybe you already have a home in Massachusetts, and you're going to get to Massachusetts somehow after you get to New York. So you have all these vague kind of plans about the future, but it starts with buying a ticket and getting on the Titanic. And you do all these things while you're on the Titanic. You have your dinners, you have your drinks, you go to the dances, you listen to the band, the orchestra, you meet people, you talk, you laugh, you drink, you gamble, but this is all your journey. And all of the people on the Titanic are on this journey, and they're all going to New York, and then they're going to scatter from there. They have their individual journeys after that. Nowhere in your journey did you plan on hitting an iceberg with the Titanic, but that's what happened. Now, when the Titanic first hits the iceberg, you're still thinking you're going to New York. This is just a minor interruption. Oh, we hit an iceberg. I see the ship has stopped. Oh, well, we're still going to make it to New York, right? Are we going to be on time? Can we make up the difference, the time? No, it'll be a little bit. It'll be a little late. Okay, that changes my plans a little. My cousin's going to have to come back maybe the day after, but we're going to New York, right? And then and so you have these vague ideas that maybe you've been interrupted or slowed down. And then when you start getting data, as we are now with climate change and global heating, as you start getting more data, you begin to suspect that you're not going to New York. You're thinking you're going to New York. You look at your ticket. I got a ticket to go to New York. This is a big ship. Surely we're still going to New York. And then as things get a little rougher and you're not really sure what's going on and people are looking really scared and the crew is running around and they're really frightened and you're thinking, well, maybe another ship will come and pick us up, right? There's lots of ships in the ocean, right? They'll come along here and we'll get on that other ship and we'll still go to New York. And you're kind of stuck with this. I'm going to New York. I've got a ticket. I've got my luggage. My cousin's waiting. I guess I'm going to New York. But as the data comes in and as you become more and more focused on your situation and less focused on this vague idea of going to New York, some journey, okay? Some journey that started with purchasing a ticket. As you focus less and less on this vague journey thing that you've been doing and this idea of progress and inevitability, you begin to focus more and more and more tightly on your exact situation. And as you focus tightly, you begin to realize that you're not going to New York. You're not going to New York. You don't know where you're going. You might go back to England. The ship may be so damaged that all I can do is turn around and limp home. You might be going to some nearby country, Iceland, right? Greenland. Maybe can they ground this thing on Greenland? Can they go to Canada? Is there someplace nearby? So you don't think you're going to New York anymore, and you may not be thinking you're going to New York on this ship, or if another ship picks you up and you transfer, you may be going to wherever that ship was going, which could be France or Spain or North Carolina. You don't even know. So as you get more data and you become more and more focused on the situation, you realize that your journey has been interrupted. That frees you. You become free. You become free of this vague narrative of progress, of going somewhere. You're no longer thinking New York is an inevitability. Like we often think about progress. Progress is inevitable. It's like buying a ticket, getting on the Titanic and going to New York. It's just inevitable. You buy the ticket, you board the ship, you go to New York. I mean, that's how it is. That's it. That's all the steps. Ticket, ship, New York. There's nothing in between. That's progress. That's how you do it. But as you realize slowly that you're in a situation and that your journey is interrupted, then you're a different person. And to take our example of the Titanic a little further, you give up on the journey. You're not going to wait for the ship to come and take you to New York. You're not going to wait for them to turn the Titanic around and get back to their home port. You're going to have to get off the Titanic. All the miracles, all the unicorn farts, all the rainbows, all the everything that could happen, might happen, should happen, aren't going to happen. You're going to have to get on a lifeboat and get away from the sinking ship. That is not a narrative of progress. That's a narrative of what the fuck just happened. So I am very much, so I was listening to this lady talking about physics. She was talking about the journey, right? And I was very much at the point of thinking, well, yes, and that's what's happened, is our journey has been interrupted. All of our narratives and stories we tell ourselves and each other about progress have been interrupted. Not everybody will know that. Not everybody will accept that. even given the crushing evidence that you're not going there, they won't accept it. Why? Well, ideological reasons. Uh, there are lots of Christians who are convinced they're going to heaven, and there's nothing you can say to disabuse them of this idea that they're going to heaven. They're just going to heaven. And why would you care? That's their narrative. That's where they're going. And so good luck going to heaven, right? Some people won't be able to wrap their head around it. They're like, I got a ticket. This is the Titanic. It says on the back of the ticket, unsinkable. What do you mean we're not going to New York? And they just won't be able to collate the information that the ship is settling in the water, the deck is tilting, people are headed for the lifeboats, and we're getting off. And they just won't be able to comprehend that. They're like, I have a ticket. I've got a great cabin. You're asking me to leave? Why would I do that? I'm going to New York. Just complete disconnect. And then there's a whole bunch of other people that would just be in flat out denial. I don't believe it. It's a conspiracy. I paid good money for this trip. I am not getting off of this ship. I am not getting in that stupid, dirty, stinking lifeboat. You can't make me do it. I'm gonna sit here on this ship until they fix it and they get the crew back to work and they start the engines and they move this thing in the ocean, and I'm going to New York on this ship. They just won't have it. They know what you're saying. They see the data. They understand why people are panicking, and they just refuse. They're not denying it, except that they're not going to do it. You can't make them believe it. You can't make them do it. You can't make them act on the information. They're not going to do it. And then there's going to be and by the way, that three groups of people who are just completely embedded in progress and can never see anything other than that, people who cannot comprehend it, and people who refuse to comprehend it. That three groups of people is probably most of the population, certainly on the Titanic. And even that was a physical thing. That was you could stand on the deck and the deck is tilting, right? There's your evidence right there. Okay. With global heating and climate change, it's not even as concrete as that. It's like data and charts and, the World Meteorological Organization. I can't even tell you where that's located. Who are these people? And NOAA and National Weather Service and, and all this confirmation bias and all this other kind of stuff they have to deal with. Because it's just not as concrete as the deck on the Titanic tilting as it gets ready to slide into the sea. That wasn't enough for some people. And I can promise you that all the data in the world and all the IPCC reports and all the COPs and all the everything else isn't going to be enough to move people. And they're not going to understand that our journey has been interrupted. We're not getting there. Now, I don't know what all you thought you were promised when you bought your ticket to modernity. But whatever it is you thought was printed on your ticket about how you're going to ride and how you're going to arrive and what it's going to be like when you get to New York, you're not going there. Neither am I. I am reconciled to that. I don't know what that means. I don't know what it means that we're not going there. My go-to is that we have to get to the lifeboats. But I don't know what that means in a real context. If I was on the Titanic, I could tell you what a lifeboat looks like. I could probably point to one. See that? That's a lifeboat. You're going to have to get on that to get off the ship right there. Okay, but what's the equivalent of that for our current situation? We are not going. We are not going to arrive. Our journey has been interrupted. And we've been on a 10,000-year journey. And it's been progress all the time. And you can point to all the examples of progress, especially in the last 300 years. And now, however we did it, whyever we did it, whoever did it, we've changed the planet Earth. It has changed. It's going to continue to change. And it's going to change out from under us. It's just like hitting an iceberg on the Titanic. We're not going there. Modernity is not in reach anymore for the future. You have what you have now, and even that's going away. We can't go there. There is no story about how we're going to get there. If we keep burning fossil fuels, then we're basically going to destroy the planet for human uses. And if we stop burning fossil fuels, then we destroy the modern world, the modern human world, the built habitat that we built for ourselves over at least 300 years, probably 1,000. Without fossil fuels, we can't maintain it. Then it falls apart, and it falls apart quickly, like immediately. I was I was made aware of that in the middle of the week, and maybe you were too. There was news reports middle of the week that earlier in the week, Monday, the CEOs of or representatives of Walmart, Target, and Home Depot went to the White House and met with the president. And their message to the president, they probably had to pay a lot of money to get his time, and he's always got his sticky fingers in everybody's wallet. However, they got time with the president, however many millions of dollars that cost them. What they came to telling him was, Mr. President, we are in a crisis. In 2 weeks, there will be empty shelves in our retail establishments, Walmart, Target, and Home Depot. And you can well imagine that if there's 3 CEOs that are willing to buy time with the president to have this conversation, there's probably 300 more who are in exactly the same situation and did not buy time to talk to the president. And that's a lot of companies. That's a lot of retailers that are saying the same thing. They're going to be saying the same thing. I'll tell you why. They're saying the same thing. I'll tell you why that informs my opinion that we're not going there. Wherever it is your ticket said you were headed, here's your ticket. You're not going to get there. Your journey has been interrupted. What they told the president was, our shelves will be empty, or they'll start to empty in 2 weeks. That was 2 weeks from last Monday. Now, most people either wouldn't understand that, what that means, or why that's possible, or they would just think it's a hoax. And who knows why these people bought time to talk to the president about their shelves being empty. Maybe they're just trying to use scare tactics to get him to do something that they want him to do. But if we just take them at their word, I mean, they did buy time with the president. They gave him money. So this isn't a little thing for them. This isn't like we're just at the bar having a beer and, oh, by the way, we're going to have empty shelves in 2 weeks. No, they're serious about this. So why is this true? Why is it inevitable that in 2 weeks, retail shelves will be empty? Why was it inevitable at some point that you're not going to New York? It's the same thing. You run up against something that you can't get around. The way these retailers work is they have no inventory. Most people don't know this. There's a thing called the JIT economy, just in time, JIT. The just in time economy is all about logistics and transportation. It's not about warehouses. The idea of going around the world and buying boatloads of shoes and furniture and clothing and hats and gloves and bringing all this back to your warehouse and then selling it for a year or two. That model is completely gone. For one thing, people want more stuff. So when you go out to buy shoes, you're not buying a boatload of leather shoes from Spain or Morocco. You're having to go out and buy Nikes and Keds and Adidas. And for each of those different brands, there's 50 different styles, and each style comes in 3 colors, and then there's all the matching accessories. And so you can't have a warehouse full of all the things you need. So instead, the way they handle all this, the way they handle all the choices for all the different consumers coming in at all the different times for the different reasons they have, and they want all this variety, and they want they want a whole aisle full of dry cereal. A whole aisle, both sides, right out of the back, dry cereals just for the kids for Saturday morning. 20 brands, organic, granola, super sweet, no sweet, chocolate, fruit, banana flavored, everything. The whole aisle is just breakfast cereals just for the kids for Saturday morning. That's what people want. But only way you can have that is with a JIT economy. You can't have everything in storage so that you can quickly restock the shelves. Instead, It's all done with computers. As you check out and you swipe your barcode, okay, then there's a computer somewhere that's making tabulations. Okay, this is what's in inventory. This is what we had in inventory last time I got a number, and we're decrementing it over here with all these purchases. And okay, and the computer has an algorithm, an artificial intelligence, machine learning thing, and it says, oh look, this thing is flying off the shelves. And then they can even go out into the cyberspace and find out, oh look, there's a TikTok video. Okay, well because of this TikTok video, these shoes are flying off the shelf. So then the algorithm says, hey, wow, get back to China and find more of these shoes because they're flying off the shelf. And so, and that happens, that decision happens 40 times a minute for every single thing that's on the shelves. 40 times a minute, decision is made. Do we need to order more or do we not? And then you send your buyer back to China, back to the exact factory, back to the exact place where that exact product was made that you picked up, 2 or 300 of, and then distributed them to your retailers. And they all got 6 or 8, and then they flew off the shelves. And then you found a TikTok video, and now you got an opportunity. So then you go back and you have the manufacturer for you manufacture 20,000 of those things. And then when you come back from China with your container full of shoes, it's all the same shoe. And now you put that on the truck, and the truck drives around the West Coast and distributes all these shoes that are flying off the shelf. And pretty soon there's lots of shelves. There's lots of shoes on the shelf for this thing that's flying off the shelves. And you sell them all. You sell them all. You sell them all. That there's no warehouse. It was all done just in time. What the retailers were telling Donald Trump, none of which he understood because he's a dummy. What they were telling him was, we don't have inventory. We buy things just in time. Your tariffs are going to have immediate impact on us. We have no reserves. And our computer algorithm knows if it's even worth buying something at the price. If the price of this shoe that was flying off the shelf 3 weeks ago has doubled or tripled, the cost for us to bring the shoe in may not justify, because we know, the computer already knows, people won't buy it. It'll stop flying off the shelves. So if you're going to raise the price of everything, we have no inventory to absorb that price hit. That price is going to be on our shelves tomorrow, because that's when we get things. They arrive tomorrow. We put them on the shelf the same day. And the price has to reflect what we paid for it the day before. We have no inventory. And if we can't justify buying things because the price has immediately gone up, because the tariffs were immediately imposed, and we immediately felt that, and that happened to our immediate imports as soon as they arrived, and the price went up immediately, and that shows up on the shelves of our retail outlet in the next day. We're not going to be able to sell these things. And so since we can't sell them, we're not going to buy them. And since we can't buy them, we won't have them, and they won't be on the shelf. And we'll have empty shelves. And maybe it'll be shoes and socks and T-shirts at first, and then maybe later it's countertop appliances and bowls and plates and things, and then a little bit after that, maybe it's food. Who knows? It almost doesn't even matter what it is that's not on the shelves, because you know what's going to happen. You just know what's going to happen. If these guys are right, and in 2 weeks from last Monday, all right, 2 weeks from last Monday, this is the word on the street. 2 weeks from last Monday, there's going to be empty shelves. Then you know what people are going to do. They're going to panic. Some of them will become violent because they're going to blame the retailers, because that's what Donald Trump does. He blames the retailers. Some of them are going to set fire to the stores. It's the retailers. They're just crooked, and some of them are just going to stop buying. And the people who used to stock those shelves for these retailers, they're going to be out of a job. They're not buying anything. And it just starts to fall apart. And there will be looting, and there will be fires, and there will be bombs, and there will be, you know how it is. People getting scared, people getting angry. They go straight from being completely uninvolved to frightened immediately to anger. That's how Americans are. We've been trained to be that way, and that's how we are. As soon as you interrupt their journey and throw any barriers in front of their sense of happiness or progress, then they revolt. That's what we've been taught to do. So that's what's going to happen. In my book, which I'm still working on because I've been too busy, the real reason that civilization collapses is because people panicked. If they had had some leadership, if they had had some knowledge of what was happening, if they had been prepared in their minds to accept, some hiccups here and there, if they had generationally been educated that, folks, progress is great, but, sometimes you got to change direction. Progress is not inevitable. Not every kid always gets a pony. Okay. If we had been kept up to date on the realities in the world, like the JIT economy and just-in-time retailing and, our dependency on foreign countries for all of our goods, all of our manufactured goods, all of them, like 90%. If we were told the truth about all this, then when things were interrupted, we might say, well, I guess we knew that could happen. So here it is happening. Oh, well, but that's not what happened. We didn't get the education. We didn't get the preparation. And now these CEOs who really knew better, I mean, they've known for 30 years that the GIT economy is a thing. Okay. They've known that for 30 years because they made it 30 years ago. They knew all along, but they only went to the president on Monday to tell him, dude, Donnie, you're screwing up. There's going to be empty shelves. I don't think Donald Trump understood anything they were saying. And if he did understand it, meaning he understood the words, and he understood what a just-in-time economy is, and he understood what a warehouse on wheels is, and he understood the role of China in keeping our shelves stocked, okay? And if they talked about all those things, I don't think he would understand any of it. If they used all those words and piled all that on and explained to him why we have to do things differently, I don't think he would have understood it. He's old, he's fragile, he's egotistical, and he's probably half deluded. I don't think he understands anything they told him. And they waited until Monday to tell him. Why? I don't know. They could have told him this stuff in his first administration. They could have told him when he was banging tariffs around like he was going to change the world. They could have told him back then, Donald, sit down here, pal. Let me explain to you how this shit actually works, okay? They didn't. Could have, didn't. So now they're telling him, Monday last, we've got enough inventory for 2 more weeks of operations. And after that, there's going to start being empty shelves. And I'm here to tell you, nobody in the public understands that. Nobody in the public knows that conversation took place. Nobody in the public, nobody, not even you, even though I've just explained it, nobody understands what a JIT economy is and the implications of tariffs on a just-in-time economy. Even if I say the words, it doesn't ring. You've got your ticket. It says right here, you're going to New York, and on the back it says the ship is unsinkable. What do you mean we hit an iceberg? What do you mean we're going down? We have to get to the lifeboats. You mean I'm not going to New York? People just won't believe it. They just won't believe it. That the shelves could be empty in 2 weeks from last Monday. And what's going to happen when they see that? And that doesn't align with their sense of progress and, of course, exceptionalism. What do you mean I can't have shelves full of, well, I can't have an aisle full of breakfast cereals? Both sides of the aisle, 40 feet, both sides of the aisle, breakfast cereals. What do you mean I can't have 40 feet of breakfast cereals of every flavor and color and type and texture and ingredients and from every part of the world and every part of the economy? What do you mean I can't have 40 linear feet, both sides of breakfast cereals? I'm American. Don't tell me what I can have and what I can't have. And when the shelves are empty and you've got maybe 4 or 5 brands of breakfast cereals and the rest of the shelves are empty because people bought everything and nothing came back in to replace it, well then, what are you supposed to think? Well, of course, I can tell you what they're going to think. And why would they think anything else? It's a conspiracy. It's the liberals. It's the communists. It's the Illuminati. It's aliens. Whatever. And they'll never understand that their narrative of progress, that they're on a journey to perfection, consumer perfection, has been interrupted, and they're not going there. And there's some point, and this is really important. Even if we get through this tariff boondoggle and Trump backs down and reverses everything, there's going to be a point when this kind of baloney, this kind of whatever, mob boss shakedown of the global economy breaks something or breaks a bunch of things. And then the shelves empty. And no one was really expecting that. And no one's going to the president on a Monday and saying, hey, Donald, in 2 weeks, our shelves are going to be empty. They just get caught flat-footed. And it could happen. We just keep screwing around. FAFO, right? We just keep screwing around with things. We don't know what we're doing. And we end up breaking the global economy. Now, on this channel, I talk about global heating. I don't talk about climate change because there's no such thing. You'd be lucky if you got some climate change. You're getting global heating, okay? You just get your thermometer out and start paying attention. What does that have to do with the journey interrupted? Global heating is going to smack us so hard that the JIT economy collapses completely. We are going to get hit so hard at some point, probably in multiple points at some point. We're going to get hit in India. We're going to get hit in southern China. We're going to get hit across Europe. We're going to get hit at the border. We're going to get hit at the oil fields. We're going to take a hit one of these days. And it might happen in the course of a couple of weeks or a month that we get hit so hard by global heating in so many different places all at once, just kind of out of the blue, that we can't carry on. We just can't. We hit the iceberg and we're dead in the water. And we don't know when that day is coming. We don't know when this economy hits that iceberg and goes down, but I can tell you why it will and what that iceberg will look like. It will look like global heating becoming, and everything that comes with it, the storms, the floods, the heat waves, and from all those things, the refugee crises, the riots, the interruptions in the food supply, all these things, all of that hits us all at once. A half a dozen icebergs hit our Titanic all at once, and we're dead in the water. And that's it. Then the JIT economy is done. You won't be able to reboot it. It's done. It was kind of hanging on for a while, and the tariffs didn't help, and the interest rates didn't help, and the inflation didn't help, and the war in Ukraine was a bad idea, and losing all those fossil fuels from Russia, that hurt, and Germany deindustrialized, and India went to war with Pakistan over water, and a bunch of other things happened, and then suddenly the deck is tilting, and you're like, this is sounding serious, and you're having to focus on, hold on, I guess I'm not going to where I thought I was going. Wait, where am I going? Where is this headed? Is there a lifeboat? What am I going to do? And well, that'll be it. It'll be done. That's how it happens. It doesn't happen because someone deliberately did something. Donald Trump can undo the tariffs, and maybe that'll help. Or maybe the damage is already done. Who knows, right? If we've got 2 weeks worth of inventory to keep things on the shelves at Target and Walmart, then maybe we're already done. Maybe we're already blown up, but maybe we're not. Maybe we can reverse the tariffs. We can make good with the Chinese, and we can get things back on track. And then the whole problem with the shelves being empty never materializes. Phew, that was a close one. But what's going to say Donald Trump doesn't do the whole thing again 30 days later? Because he's convinced that this is what he's got to do. Campaign promises, and I'm going to make people pay. And I had people kissing my ass, his words. I had people kissing my ass to come talk to me about tariffs. And I made deals, and deals were great. And we made great deals. And we had a great deal with the Chinese. We talked to the Chinese. Chinese claim they haven't had a single conversation with the guy. I talked to the Chinese, and we're making deals with the Chinese. They don't think so. And, what if he just keeps doing this on and off and on and off, and then things blow up? According to the CEOs of Walmart, Target, and Home Depot, I'm pretty sure you've heard of them, say they've got 2 weeks until the shelves are empty or start to empty. There's no guarantee we're going to make it. I mean, if it's down to that, there's no guarantee we're going to make it. And always remind yourself, the way this thing ends is in panic. People are afraid right now. They're afraid. They're terrified. And they're just getting through their day. They're just getting through their day. I'm going to get through this day. And if I have a job still tomorrow, I'm going to go to work tomorrow, and I'm going to get through that day too. And one day at a time, it's going to take it one day at a time. Just like you're on the Titanic and the water's coming in, you just go, okay, I'm going to take this one hour at a time. I'm just going to relax, and they're going to tell me when the ship is going to go down, right? They're going to give me some warning, right? They're going to tell me, they'll let me know, because I'm just going to take this 1 minute at a time. And right now, I'm going to go eat some dinner, and I'm going to go to my bunk, and I'm going to lay down. I'm going to try to get some sleep. And if anything bad really happens, they're going to tell me, right? And that's how people are right now. They're scared, and they don't know what to do. They're paralyzed with fear. And for a lot of these people, their first outlet, their first expression of how fearful and frustrated they are will be panic. They'll go straight from, I'm just going to tough this out. This is a hoax. India and Pakistan are not going to war. There's not going to be a heat wave. The U.S. Southeast is going to recover from all these storms. It's going to be fine. And then the next thing they do, they panic. And of course, herd mentality, everybody panics at once. Everybody panics at the same time for the same reason. And that's how it ends. It ends in a panic. Remind yourself all the time. If you're uncomfortable and you're frightened and you're not sure where this is going, and you got the ticket, but you think there's a problem, and maybe you're not going to make it to New York, maybe this journey is over. And when you're thinking those thoughts, what you have to start reminding yourself is, you're going to have to know what to do. What are you going to do? And if your thought is, well, I'll wait until the shelves are empty, and then I'll rush down to Whole Foods and Target and buy a bunch of bottled water and breakfast cereal. If that's your plan, if that's your whole plan, then you have no plan. Because that's the same plan everybody else does. On the day when everyone decides that this thing is going south, they're all going to go rushing out to the Costco's and the Walmarts and the Targets of the world, and they're going to buy all the toilet paper and all the bottled water and all the canned goods. And when you show up 5 minutes after that happened, the shelves are empty. And because of the JIT economy, there's no warehouse across town to fill those back up with. There's a room in the back, there's a stock room in the back, and they've got 10 of everything. And it's already empty. And you're going to have to go to another store that maybe the panicked people haven't raided yet. And you're going to hope you get there first. And if that's your plan, then you don't have a plan. Now, I'll end this because I need to end this on a different thought. You can't do this alone. You can panic alone. You can go to Walmart and bash down the doors and go rushing in there with your shopping cart and knock people over and fill your cart and fight for your things and go rushing out without even paying. You can do that alone. But the JIT economy is going to fail you. So you can get yours when the getting's good, but after that, you have no plan. And your plan has to be with other people. And it can't be, oh, we're all going to raid the Walmart and we're all going to combine our resources. Yeah, you're going to have resources, but your plan has to be you're going to huddle with your neighbors, you're going to figure this out, and you're going to get through it together. Just like you would with any other lifeboat. 20 people show up at the lifeboat. Does anybody here know how to put this lifeboat down? Does anybody know how this works? Okay, so if someone puts the lifeboat down, we all get in, 20 people get into the lifeboat, and we make sure there's some food and the water for the children and some blankets because it's cold, and we get people comfortable and we don't overload the boat. It says right here the capacity 20 people. All right, well, let's be sure we don't do anything more than that. And then we have to lower the boat, and now we're on the water. Now what do? We have an oar. We can paddle away from the ship as it's sinking, and you just have to focus on what you can do. But you end up being 20 people on a lifeboat. You're not one person on a lifeboat. You can't even lower the lifeboat yourself with one person. You're going to have a bunch of people just to get the lifeboat into the water in a safe way with all of you and yourself on it. And the equivalent has to happen now. You're going to have to find the people that you can float away from the JIT economy, because this journey is not going forward. And whatever you thought you knew about progress, it's not going to survive global heating. Whatever you thought you knew about human progress, it's not going to survive global heating. And the tariffs and the 2 weeks until the shelves and all this stuff, this is just setting the stage for what is actually inevitable, which is that it's going to be too hot soon to do the things to make the JIT economy turn over. It'll be too hot. There will be too much violence, too much panic. There'll be too many refugees. There's going to be too many interruptions to food supplies and other supply chains, including fuel supplies. And people just aren't going to be able to make it alone. You have to start figuring out who you're going to do this with. I don't even know how to have that conversation. I really don't. I mean, you know who your neighbors are. You know who your friends are. I don't know. You have to figure that out. I can't help you there, except what I just said, that is what you do with your interrupted journey. You recollect yourselves, you form a block, and you pool your resources and you pool your skills, and you help each other to move on, because you're not going to finish this journey. Nobody is finishing this journey. And whatever notion of progress you have and entitlement or anything else, no one is getting off in New York. This ship is not going there. We are here. This is as far as we're going to go. And now we have to figure out how to get off and what to do next. And that's my message for you today. And start considering that your journey into a future of progress and brilliance has been interrupted. You have an opportunity to figure out what you're going to do. Don't forget to like the video. YouTube loves that kind of thing. And if you're new to the channel and you want more of this kind of stuff, hey, you can certainly subscribe. It doesn't cost you a thing. I come back here once in a while when I get scared of something. Obviously, these are dark times, and yeah, they're going to stay dark, folks. I don't know how to tell you that. I don't know what else to tell you. It's going to stay dark. And I'll keep coming back here, trying to illustrate that, how that happens. And as always, in case we never meet again, good luck out there. Pay attention, listen, think, pay attention. And you're going to have to find another way to go forward, because this journey's done. We're not going there anymore.